Okay, so this is the beginning part of where I'm about to go in, and I'm gonna help you code this thing with it as well. So in this exercise, I'm gonna have you do two index page. This is the first index page. This part is what I call is the skeleton, all right? The bare minimum of your structure of your page with it. Inside your module 6, I'm going to actually uh, do the same thing. We're going to do the same thing inside your module 6 here, and then we're going to copy this part right here, copy this file right here inside of your 6 with it. So the first thing I need for you to do is do file save as for me with it, file save as, and we're going to actually navigate inside your module 6, call it index, again same thing, index.html. All right, make sure it's all lowercase with it. So it's inside of this. You notice that this document's inside, it's indented in, it's inside of this module 6. So inside of this page right now, I'm going to have you access using these images that we're going to move in, and we're going to actually create these images in here as well with it as well. All right, so let's get started with this thing with it as well. So here's what I'd like for you to do. The first thing we need to do is to do the rows in here. So inside the body, let's remove this part right here. Is we're going to remove that text with it, and I'm gonna start out with kind of like starting with the banner. I'd like for you to do a banner. So what we do is I want to ask you to code a document on here. Anything you start out in HTML with a left angle bracket, an explanation, dash dash. This is what's called comment. So the banner, meaning all of this is a documentation. So the browser does not read line 7. It puts a blindfold on it. Doesn't see it. We're going to use what's called the div tag. Bear with me with the lingo. And we're going to use a class. If you again, so you use your IntelliSense with it, hit tab. It puts the equal and the quotation for you. You haven't written the class called row yet. You will. So inside of that, you need to close out that right angle bracket and enter with it. Okay, make sure you have the right syntax with it as well. So inside of this, we're going to put in our logo. All right. So I'm going to say logo. Let's start out with, let's say logo right here with it. All right. Our logo goes here. Some text like that, so we know that our logo is here with it. Hit enter down here with it as well. And our second part in that part we're going to actually do, this is logo image goes here. So we're gonna actually put an image goes here with it. Maybe put that in a bracket so we'll see that, knowing that this is a working document with it. So I'm going to do this. And then the second row, again, this column that I'm working in is a row, right? But inside that column, let's come down here between here a second with it. Inside that row that I'm working in right now for that banner row with it, I'm going to actually do another div tag, what's called a nesting div tag with it. So let me come back out here with it. We need to actually do an outer row with this, excuse me. I kind of jump, I get excited, and then I get ahead of myself with it. We're going to do a style, change that to style. We're going to actually do text. Too many. So I can't talk and chew gum at the same time. I'm going to do text alignment, hit tab, and I'm going to do center, and then I'm going to come over to take out that semicolon that we have. We'll create another class here, container. You haven't written this class yet. All right, so it's inside of this right now. This is what I'm looking at right now. Let me clean this up before we get too far with this thing. So just do it like this for me right now with it, right? And inside of that, okay, I'll pause your screen, get your screen to look like mine right now with it. I apologize if I confuse you with it, but all of this is done in your index page, which is this file right here. This is the file I'm working on right now, is this file, okay? Control S saves it. There's nothing on the screen. So pause your screen, get your screen to look like my screen before we move forward for me, would you? All right. So inside of this, I like for you to come in. We're going to do another div tag with it. Now we do a row, class row. We haven't created this row yet. The class, every time I mean creating a definition, you will with it. So this is where you actually put another column in this thing with it. Remember that browser I was telling you about, that first, we're going to just divide it up with it. I'm going to call that column 25 and the rest will be 75. Nice whole number. I know I said before it was 33 and 26. It was kind of hard to picture that. Let's do a round even number with it as well. So let me just do this div div tag, and let's call this thing class. We haven't written this, just bear with me, dash 25. Okay, so that's our first right angle bracket, and moves it down here. This is where you would actually put logo goes here. So we're going to use text right now. When we come back to this thing, we're going to put in an image in there with it as well. Okay, so inside of this is the next row. Make sure it's indented in with it as well. So let's do div, the div tag, class. Let's do this time, hit tab, it puts the equal sign and the quotation, helps your, and we have it column dash 75. Okay, and that closes that set of 10. So this is where your banner goes with it. So I'm just going to put in an H2, which is kind of like a large text. I'm going to say class X large dash fonts. Remember now, these definitions, what I call is class, we haven't written yet, so we will. We're going to do that, and I'm going to do some embed coding for you on here. It might sound overwhelming. So welcome to your name with it, right? Don't put my name, put your first name. So let me move that over here to Dan's home or Dan's portfolio. Okay, and that closes the tag on there with it as well. So before we move on, make sure this is what you have. So you have this div tag that pairs up with the line 8, div tag pairs with 17. If I click on this div tag, it pairs with 16. If I click on this div tag, it pairs with line 12. If I click on this line, you see how these two div tags are nested inside of this second one right here with it. So pause your screen, make your screen look like my screen right now, if you could for me. Command S saves it. Pause your screen, get your screen to look like my screen for me, please. And I'm gonna have you go live, save it, and this is what it looks like. So right now, we have a logo that actually sits on top of here, and welcome to Dan's portfolio with it. Again, I want to stretch this out a little bit, get it responsive with it. Don't worry, this is going to move down here in a second once we write the definition for it. I call it a definition for you to understand, but it's called class. Remember those classes 25 and those 7, the column 25? This is where we're going to define here, and this part right here is going to be column 75 over here with it. Right now it's stacked above with one another. That's okay. We're going to change it in a second. All right. So make your screen look like my screen. Make it exactly like this. Look at each of the lines. Pause the video if you need to, and get it to look like exactly. And do you have the same output as what I have here? Is the question. All right. All right. So coming back here with it, I need for you to come down here. So we're going to actually come down here below our div tag right here. This is the div tag that pairs. Look at the line, how it comes down with it, right? So I want to document this time with it. So this time I want to do, remember now what the exclamation dash dash does. It's just a documentation. I want to do the first row below the banner. Okay, and let's come down here. We're just going to do one of them, and then we're going to swap it out with it. So let's do a div tag, class, tab. I'm going to call this container, right? And then I'm going to come over to the right, close up that right angle bracket. Oops, not inside my quote. Hit enter. And then we're going to come down here inside of that. We're going to nest in another row. Div class row. Okay. Inside of that, we're going to, instead of having the 25 right now with it, I want to flip it back to maybe I should make it. Yeah, let's flip this back to 75 with it as well. So div class. Let's do div class equal column dash 75 this time with it. Hit enter with it, and you're going to write some sort of text in here with it, right? So let's do an H2. Yeah, let's do an H3. So it makes it a little smaller with it. I'm going to do class large font. Come to the right of that. My moody feeling. Something like that, right? And then I need to put a paragraph underneath it with a P tag. And I want to say a description of my artwork. In your case, a description of your module 1. Remember what your module 1 was? Your logo with it. I don't know, something like a graphics that you show with it as well. So you know, what inspired you to do that with it, right? So that's that part with it. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit, place my cursor after that first 75%, hit enter. I'm going to do another div tag. This div tag, I'm going to use a class, tab, column. Let's do column dash 25 this time. See how this alternates? Come to the right of that, close out that that div tag with it, and inside of that, this is where I'm going to put in my content here. This is where my image comes in here with it as well. Remember now, let me move this out here. So remember, we got these 3 images with it. So I'm going to put in my first image here with it. Left angle bracket, img src equal. So watch how I do this. Image img is an image. You're going to put in an image. src, right? Hit tab. Now I want to show you a shortcut to do this with it. If you hit a /, it will drop down. You click on the image where it's at. It's inside of the module 6. Go inside of that image directory. This is the first image, is the 125 JPEG with it. It writes it for you. Come back here, take out that / for me, please. And I need for let me do this. Do view word wrap, so I can get everything on, because I have a large font here with it. Okay. I need for you to write an alt tag. So this is just put in a sculpture, art sculpture. Art sculpture. And I'm going to give it a width, the size of the photo with it is 335 and a height of 471. Well, you're going to ask me, make sure they're in quotes, by the way. You're going to ask me, so how do I know the width and the height of my graphics with it? I'll show you this in a second. Okay, so let me get everything on the screen with it. So Command S saves it, right? So this is the width and the height of this thing. Let me save this, and I'll show you where to get these numbers from with it. Let's look at it saved. So let's look at our browser with it. So this is my Moody feeling. This is our first row that we just did. We haven't written it yet with it, so don't worry, our image is broken right now because we haven't written the definitions on here with it as well. So we're going to move this, all of this, to the right proper place when we get the definitions on the top with it. But it's a broken image. This is a art sculpture is broken right here, right? And I'm going, what's wrong? Or you might be saying, what's going on here? Well, let's look at our browser with it as well. So hold on. Let me see here. So it's in this image directory, yeah. So let's save this thing, save it. Let's go to our browser. There it is right here. That's okay. Just leave this up here for me for the time being with it. This is the image that we have brought you in. Now, I was going to go back. I'm going to show you something. That's right. You can leave the / in here for the time being with it. But here's what I want to point out is you're going to ask me, where do I find the size right here with it? Well, go to your desktop for me, please. I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to find the folder. Find the folder that you have on your OneDrive. Expand that, come down to module 6, go inside your image. If I click on that first image that I have, and you see how I hover over that? Well, you're going to see a dimension of 324 by 432. I need to reduce that down to that size that I was telling you about was what? 335 is the width, and so I reduce it by proportionally with it, right? Make sure you don't distort it is my point with it. So what I normally do, I would recommend you to do, is you could drop, yeah, gosh, I hover over that. Let me just do right mouse click and go down to properties with it, because I took this picture it's a high resolution picture. It's really large with it as well. So you can go down to details, and I want to scroll down, and you can see the dimension is 3024 by 4032. You can reduce this by proportionally by just dropping off the last number with it. So you can drop this down by 302 by 403 with it as well. So I got down to proportionally 335 by 471 with it as well. So make sure it's proportional when you reduce your graphics with it. But that's where you get your number. You don't want to load this large number. It's going to take too big, and you need to optimize your screen with it as well. So this is the width and the pixel number of this thing with it as well. I don't want you can't load the size, or it's going to take up your entire browser, okay, with it. So that's where that's where you can get all your numbers from it as well with it. All right. Come back to over here. I'm going to pause. It's 20 minutes on this thing already. It's 19 minutes, so I'm going to pause before I continue.